The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Albany County News. I'm Mary Rozak, the Director of Communications for Albany County. And in the next 30 minutes or so, we are going to introduce you, if you've never heard about the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau, introduce you to it. But if you have, you already know all the great things that the ACCVB does. Joining me today is Maeve McEneny, the Education Coordinator. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you. So tell me, Maeve. Last name McEneny, from the famous family?
Yeah, it's one of the same, yep.
All right, so where are you in the scheme of things in the family?
I'm the youngest, so there's four of us all together, and there's a bit of an age gap between the brother who's closest in age with me, and I'm the last.
Okay, well, you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
But you're all grown up.
But all grown up and, rejected the idea of doing history since I was a little kid. You know, my father, of course, everywhere we went was a history tour, everything, so as a teenager, you say, I'm not getting into that. So I went to Siena College, just down the road. Yep. I was an English education teacher. That was my major. And I graduate college and need a job, and I start giving tours of Albany. So
you really are doing kind of history along with the education.
So yes, he has not said I told you so, because what happened is I fell in love with it. Fell in love with the city, fell in love with telling the story, and then about 10 years later, the ACCVB picked me up.
Wow. Yeah. So you, that's wonderful that you were able, you graduated with a degree in
English.
In English.
English. But really, it's storytelling, right? That's really what history and everything's all about, is telling stories. So I'm still using that degree. I write all the time, and, it's just, my story is Albany.
Well, and couldn't be more appropriate than that you are the education coordinator for the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, we get thousands of children across the state who come. We've got a planetarium, and we use the planetarium to talk about Henry Hudson and navigating the stars. So school programs from all over, and summertime we get a lot of the camps too.
Wow. So what is a typical day for you like?
A typical day for me, like for example, I wake up, go to work, and I set up the planetarium, and the planetarium can have anything from inflatable planets to Henry Hudson puppets, depending on the class that we have. And I'll work pretty much through the afternoon, and then it's time to sit down at the computer, and it comes to Albany Heritage Tourism. And ACCVB has really committed to moving forward with heritage tourism, building our region, building our region's history, and we want to be the catalyst to form partnerships between all of our historical institutions.
Planetarium, let's go back to the first part. I didn't even know there was a planetarium in downtown Albany.
Yeah. Every third Saturday we do public programs, that 11 a.m. for kids, and then 1 p.m. general audiences, and it's pretty great. It's fun, and like I said, it's a great way to that whole STEM programming, getting science and math, but then pulling in that history as well, cross-curricular. It's pretty great.
Well, you know what? When we say people come down, I make an assumption people know where you are. Where are you?
We're on the corner of Clinton Avenue and Broadway, so we're about a block away from the Palace Theater, next door to the Old English Pub.
What do you rely on for parking? That's got to be a little tricky.
Yeah, the parking is, we share a building with the Albany Pump Station, so if you're familiar with the pump station, there's a lot there, and if you come during the weekday, there's limited free parking. You'll see some signs for that. On the weekend, it's all free parking.
Okay. So it sounds like your day is broken up into two different parts. First the play and then the plan.
Yeah, it really is. It is really wearing two different hats.
Yeah. There is a lot of stuff going on that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is involved with, and I know that we're going to start out by talking about some of that. We heard There was a big press conference not long ago about the Erie Canal and the bicentennial.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about how you are involved and what is actually happening?
Yeah, what was neat, how it all started is ACCVB wanted to take a stronger hand in some of the tourism and stories in Albany. So I called a meeting, I sent an email to the heritage sites in our region, and I said, all right, so this year we're looking to 2017, what's our story? And it turned out a lot of us were thinking about Erie Canal and telling our stories about Erie Canal. So as the year went on, we submitted programs and we've come up with kind of an itinerary for what you can do with the Erie Canal. The big press conference that came out was with the Albany Symphony Orchestra with water music. And it's a barge that is going to be sailing along the Erie Canal stops. And it's a collaboration with local artists, of course, musicians and local composers, and they're going to be traveling along New York State in that canal route, including Albany and Schenectady, and it's going to move and find these collaborations with these musicians.
Now, when you think about bodies of water around here, we think certainly about the Mohawk, we think about the Hudson, but Erie Canal may not be the first thing that people think of. It's not a natural body of water.
Yeah, it was. It was incredible. This is our 200th anniversary, so that's part of what this big push is. And you have to think, 200 years ago when DeWitt Clinton came up with this idea, what did they call it? Clinton's Ditch. Yeah, everybody thought that there is no way you can do this. And the technology at the time of digging basically by hand, by horses and whatnot, and that can be a lot to really wrap our brains around what an undertaking it was. It was really sort of seizing nature and almost bending it to what we wanted.
Sure. Well, I mean, because 200 years ago, the only real mode of transportation was by having, oxen or horse or whatever, dragging, pulling, having some kind of cart. And so this really turned things around.
It did. We were pretty much in the heart of it all. How was the best way to figure out commerce between Buffalo and New York City? How could you do that? And it was by this. It was about the Erie Canal. It was Clinton having this, looking ahead and being able to see that, and going from the slow horse-drawn to boats, and water traffic was really incredible. And we were at the heart of it. Albany was at the heart of it. And it really changed our dynamic as a city. All of a sudden our industry builds up. Lumber Road is what they even called what we call Livingston Avenue, just because of the lumber barons were nearby. That whole warehouse district.
Here comes that history.
I know, I can't escape it. But the warehouse district, so much of that, was built up because of the Erie Canal.
So what happened then, as we think about it, as the Erie Canal was built, there were communities that grew up around the canal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and people traveling to come to the heart of commerce, who were finding jobs here in Albany so that they could be really in the thick of it.
It's amazing when you think about it and how much some of those communities, there was a real effort, there has been a real effort over the last few years to show the revitalization. And so this in particular is going to be a wonderful way to do that.
I think so. I mean, I've been a tour guide of the city for close to 10 years now. And, I've worked at various visitor information booths around Albany. And that's a big question I get from the average visitor. They just say, where can I see it? Where can I find it? And I think with the bicentennial, we're now finding ways to create those tangible moments or those events where people can find a canal story and relate to it.
So tell me about this this festival really and what it involves.
So they just did the kickoff down by the riverfront, and it's going to be July 2nd. So July 2nd is when it's going to launch, and it's going to have these young composers composers and local artists. And as I said, it's going to be sailing Albany, Schenectady, Amsterdam, Brockport, Little Falls, and it's really Albany Symphony finding those connections. And just finding another way. Sometimes it can be hard to sell the Erie Canal as economy. Be like, oh, that's dry, commerce. But it's taking that Erie Canal story and putting in the arts. So it's a really fun reimagining of the canal story.
So where would people? So on July 2nd, then where would someone go to actually see this and participate and enjoy the music?
Yeah, what you want to do is you want to go to our website, albany.org, because we're tracking it there as well. Because we don't want anyone leaving Albany County, of course, but if you do find yourself outside of Albany County along one of these stops, what I would do is call your local visitor centers, because I know the barge has been making these connections, and you can try to connect with them there.
Well, that certainly sounds wonderful, and it certainly sounds like something unique and a great way to capitalize on what we hope is going to be a good weather summer.
I think so.
Path Through History.
Path Through History is probably one of my favorite events. Now, this is a I Love New York initiative, but the Convention Bureau, we will promote it through our website as well. So Path Through History was so popular, they did it in June on Father's Day weekend. So this weekend it would be June 17th. And it's really a call to action for the heritage sites across New York State. Think about something that you could do. Open your doors on this day, because we know people are out with their families, Father's Day weekend. And it can be anything from a special tour that you've never done before, but sometimes it's just advertising that you're open and just inviting people in, another way to advertise. And it's been really successful. It's been really popular. So now they've bumped it also to October as well, Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, okay. So there'll be two opportunities. So if you happen not to be around and you miss the June opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so our region has really embraced this, and it's continuing to grow. Even as we speak, I'm hearing from heritage sites that they're going to participate. I know that Cherry Hill in Albany is working on a suffrage tour, and they already have their suffrage tour. Of course, this is another anniversary that we have is the anniversary of women's suffrage in New York State. And the funny story about Cherry Hill is they actually have an anti-suffrage story.
Oh, do they?
Yes, Emily Rankin was actually not comfortable with the idea of suffrage. But they've really embraced that story, and they'll be doing tours based on that story and how Cherry Hill fit into that. So that'll be really exciting. The Albany Public Library, we're doing literary libations, which will be
Well, that's unique, and it's the first time.
It's the first of its kind.
And you are in charge of this, right?
And I might be writing it, yes. And it's a pub crawl. It's about, using that English degree.
Yep.
It's about the Albany authors, or authors who came through Albany, or authors' opinions on Albany.
Really?
Yeah, Charles Dickens actually came through on a reading, and let's just say his opinion is not the highest of Albany.
Okay.
But that's the kind of fun stuff we'll be talking about. And of course, William Kennedy and Gregory Maguire.
Oh, wow. That certainly sounds very interesting. Now, I know there are all kinds of different themes.
Yeah.
So let's see a couple of others. The Revolutionary War. War of 1812.
War of 1812, absolutely. We've got, women's rights, as we just talked about, sports history. We've
sports history. We don't think a lot. I think probably past the Diamond Dogs and maybe the Alley Cats and the Firebirds. I don't think people think far back enough for sports history. So that would be interesting.
That was really neat. Yeah, and natural history. The New York State Museum will be having their Ice Age exhibit, which will be really neat. People know about the mastodon and whatnot, and
but it's cool.
It rolled literally, right?
Yeah,
really, it's hot weather.
It is. It's very cool.
So that's going to be really great as well. Back to Erie Canal, of course, we'll be going. The Albany Institute of History and Art has a canal exhibit. So it's pretty great. So their website, you can Google Path Through History, but always kind of check out albany.org. You can also add us on Facebook, Discover Albany, because what we try to do, we look at our marketing team will look at the website, and they'll take a look at that calendar, and then they'll start doing Facebook posts based on some of the fun events that'll be happening.
Okay.
So if you want to do albany.org, or if you're constantly on Facebook, or Discover Albany is a good one too.
A lot of stuff going on this summer.
Yeah.
We are talking with Maeve McEneny today from the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau. There is stuff going on, though, in the city.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the Albany specific events.
Yep, June 18th, so that's your Path Through History weekend. So what you can do is, after you've done some of these fun walking tours, you could head to Washington Park for Dad Fest. So they do
Dad Fest.
Dad Fest. It's a day celebrating dads, but there's music and there's food. And
Have they done that before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I've never heard of it. I don't.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And the one thing, we just had our Tulip Festival. And Tulip Festival, we're known for our tulips, and that's great. But a lot of people don't realize how beautiful our summer planting is. Jess Morgan is the city gardener, and her summer plants are just exceptional. They really rival the tulips. So Dad Fest, again, you can go Path Through History, do a tour, go to Dad Fest, and then take some time to walk through Washington Park, because her summer plants will be out and they're really neat. We've also got Capitol Pride Parade and Festival. That's June 11th, which is one of my favorite events in the city. It's just so much fun and so positive. And the festival is from 12 to 5. And now Alive at 5. That's been the big question, Alive at 5. And Alive at 5, they just announced the first show, which is going to be Carl Denson's Tiny Universe.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the saxophonist for the Rolling Stones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, and he just came off a tour, so.
And he's rolling into Albany.
Rolling into Albany, and there's going to be Let's Be Leonard from Saratoga will open, and it will be back at the riverfront.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because I know it had been moved last year. And
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back at the riverfront, right at Jennings Landing.
Yes.
So the dates for those Alive at 5 concerts, that first one will be June 8th.
Yes.
Okay, and they run through, I see, August 3rd.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's Thursdays. That's the best way to always remember it is just know your Thursdays in the summer, 5 o'clock, you're going to want to come down for Alive at 5.
Okay, so let's talk, I always bring up parking. Let's talk parking strategy, because that is really critical when people are coming in.
And I would
to the
say
city.
don't be afraid, and as somebody who loves the city, and I hear that all the time about the parking, don't be afraid of the parking. You can always call the Albany Parking Authority, who will be happy to direct you. Many of the garages will be open around that time, so that's another thing. If you don't want to find the street parking, you could do that.
And parking on the street is free after 5 o'clock.
Street parking on the street is free. A lot of people try to get as close as possible. They try to get under that bridge where the Albany Rowing Club is.
Okay.
And I would say you have better luck trying to park around Broadway because of the Maiden Lane Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the footbridge. Yep, there's a footbridge at Maiden Lane that's really pleasant and really pretty in the summer, and you can find parking downtown, and at the foot of Maiden Lane, you can cross the street, and you'll be right at Jennings Landing.
And it's great, actually, if you've never gone over that bridge, to climb. Yes, you have to climb the stairs, and yes, the bridge itself is a little bit of a span, but to actually look at the bridge itself and to look at every brick that's
bricks.
there.
Yeah, there's names of people. I'm on there. I'm the only Maeve on there that I found.
Oh, you think?
I would
that
think.
You found,
yes.
that you found.
But I love how they structure it too, where there's that little rolling hill.
Yes.
So you start to come up the little hill, and as soon as you get to that tippy top, you see the river, you see the trees, and and you can start to hear the music.
It's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful. So don't be scared. Come downtown. You can find parking, but you can, like I said, you can call the Albany Parking Authority. You can call us till 5, and we'll help you out.
So you've sold, I'm sure, a lot of people on coming down to Albany for the summer.
Oh, I hope so.
The Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau does a whole lot. Why don't you talk about? I mean, you're the education coordinator, but I'm sure there are a few people there doing a lot of different jobs.
Oh, yeah. There is a whole lot of us. Of course, you hear about conventions, right?
Yep.
And a convention's coming into town, and there's so much more that comes into a convention than just the hotels and things like that, although that's a big part of it, finding the hotel and the block that's right for your group. But it's also about, okay, so what can they do in between, their sessions? Or, is there anything that I can recommend to them? And it's really not only just getting people to the hotel, to the convention, but also making the best of their experience here in Albany, making it something completely unforgettable. And that's, where we try to put together sites and these opportunities such as summer just to make it really, really special.
Sure.
Film Albany, we've been hearing a lot in the news about some of these, film companies coming in.
And Deb Gedeke, who's key to reeling those film companies in,
That's
right?
Yeah, she's so talented, and it's, again, showing people that how special Albany is. I mean, our architecture is some of the most beautiful and unusual, and Deb especially has a whole database of spaces in her head that, you'd never think about, like the Albany Airport, how neat, it's like, well. There
was a filming there.
Yes.
A week ago, a week and a half ago?
Yep, and starring the little girl from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So, there's a whole lot that we do that's, hospitality oriented and film and arts and culture and all of that.
It's so funny because there's a saying that if you go to New York City, you can tell the tourists because it's the people that are looking up,
yes.
right? But you go to downtown Albany and you walk around, even if you're walking to a food truck.
Yeah.
I can find myself looking up because of the architecture. You look at the buildings, and it's just truly amazing.
A lot of the tours, particularly on Pearl Street, when I do a walking tour with people, I say you need to look up, because if you look at the Home Savings Bank, which is on the corner of State and Pearl, you'll see these golden medallions of the Dutch and the Native Americans that you'd never see if you were looking down at your toes.
Sure.
A bust of George Washington, and sometimes even just the carvings and the little gargoyles outside,
sure.
and all of that. I always tell people, especially now that we're all looking at our phones and keeping our heads down, just pocket the phone and just keep your eyes up.
And be careful though when you're crossing the street. Yes. Look not up, but towards the traffic. But it is amazing how many buildings are so ornate that you wouldn't even think when you're walking on Pearl Street and you're commercial buildings.
Yeah.
You're looking at that architecture, and it's fascinating.
We just helped out Historic Albany Foundation. There's a program they're creating called Listen Albany. And Listen Albany is going to be a series of podcasts. And the first thing they came out with was the Pearl Street Stroll. So this only launched about 2 weeks ago. And if you go, again, albany.org, but you can also go right to Historic Albany Foundation's website. And you download a podcast. It's a half hour, and you put your earphones in, and you start in front of the Times Union Center, and you just walk down Pearl to the Palace. And it's, again, that experience of encouraging you to look up and tells you the history, starting with our early Dutch roots, all the way up. We start talking about the palace, and there's a little bit of politics in there and all kinds. So another way to experience the city if you can't part with your phone.
Sure, I know.
You can download the podcast.
Heaven help us. And if you happen to be looking down and you have the podcast, you'll actually notice that there are things about where you're walking that are different.
Yeah.
I mean, I love walking on brick and part of those roads.
It's really occasionally get some cobblestone.
Yep.
The Downtown Albany bid just installed Signs of Greatness last summer, which are these beautiful panels that are around, designed by local artist Lee Dixon, and it tells stories about, this is where Albany, the first poorhouse was in the United States here, and sort of the stuff that you may not necessarily find readily accessible in a history book. And it's another way. We're trying to partner with so many places to make that history more accessible to just the average tourist and local as well.
I should have asked the mayor when she was here before Tulip Fest, but I'm going to ask you. Some years we see different things. We see Dutch shoes some years around the city. We saw, some tulip statues. We saw some dancers, I think, down by the palace one year. Are we going to see anything special in downtown Albany?
Albany is possum.
Possum.
Possum, not possum,
Okay.
possum.
Possum. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So our most famous dog in Albany,
Oh, Nipper.
Nipper. So the downtown Albany bid secured Nipper statues. They're about yay high, and they've solicited to local artists. They said, "Can you give us proposals of what you would do with Nipper?" And they have. So now they just announced the artists, I think even just a couple days ago, and it's people like the First Church, Myers Middle School, local artists from around our region, and they are taking that blank slate of Nipper and they're going to reimagine him.
Really?
And, yeah, they're going to put them on little pedestals and they're going to be all around. I think it's a kind of a kickoff as they're hoping to install a dog park in downtown Albany, as especially now that we're building more of our residential properties. So that's going to be really fun.
That'll be interesting. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
so there'll be a map or something somewhere, or somebody probably on a website.
Yes, about mid-June, and you'd have to check the Downtown Albany's website. There will be a garden party that's kind of kicking off the Albany It's Possum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very unique.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else for Albany itself that you can think about?
Yeah, I could say in the fall you're going to want to definitely look to albany.org for our suffrage programming. Again, as we've approaching, well, we are at this the anniversary right now of New York State women's suffrage. We did the same thing. We put a call out to the heritage sites and we said, so what's your story? What can you come up with? And there's a lot of great events that'll be happening in November, including the New York State Museum will be launching their suffrage exhibit.
Okay.
And in contrast, that'll bring you to the Albany Institute of History and Art, which will be anti-suffrage. Albany, we did find, has more of an anti-suffrage movement than a suffrage movement, but I think it was just because we were so close to the Capitol.
Sure.
We had a lot of vocal women who were not for the vote. And so that really came out with these meetings. So they've embraced that at the Albany Institute.
I'll be really curious to see that because I was not aware of that, and it would be really interesting, I think, to go and see.
Yeah. And they've got a costuming exhibit as well. So they're sort of pairing that, the suffrage and the costuming, that'll be happening as well. So that's going to be really neat.
Well, right about that time will be the end of the Slaters season. So let me back up right now. A great time to go down and visit the Slater.
And they'll be participating in Path Through History. And the Slater, you could really make a day of it because you have the USS Slater there, and that tour is so special and so unique. It's a World War II destroyer escort, and it's the only one still afloat. So it's something really unique to our area. And then right next door is the Dutch Apple Cruise.
That's right.
Yeah, so you can take this tour, and they share a parking lot. So you can park your car, you can take the tour, and then pop over the Dutch Apple, and you get this really great river cruise. And they're participating with Erie Canal as well. They've partnered with Irish Museum, and they do canal-based tours there occasionally. So that's worth calling Dutch Apple to find out what they're doing next.
And two things to mention. One, once again, don't be afraid of the parking because there is parking there. Number one, and number two, make sure you look up because down there, the U-Haul truck.
That's what I was going to say. So if you're looking for landmarks, you want to look for the U-Haul truck that's on top of the building, and that's where you find the USS Slater and the Dutch Apple. And if you keep your eyes up, that highway bridge that's there, there's the Peregrine Falcon Box. And so we've got
that's right.
the DEC installed the Peregrine Falcon Box, and you do see them swooping by, feeding the babies. So yeah, look up everywhere you can. Look up.
That's right, and we do actually see in downtown Albany. We do see the falcons when we were Falcon circling all the time.
I used to work up at the Corning Tower observation deck, and they would perch very proud, waiting to see where they could get their next lunch.
It's always a good distraction during a meeting when you're looking out the window and you're saying, "Oh yes, we'll get to that in a minute." But look at the falcon.
Oh, they're so beautiful. They're really beautiful.
Maeve, I want to ask you one thing.
Sure.
That you have listed on the ACCVB website on your bio. Your favorite location in Albany and why? And we have about a minute, so.
It's the New York State Capitol building. I was a tour guide there for a number of years, and it's even changed why it's my favorite because my fiance proposed to me.
Oh,
we're getting married next month, almost to the day.
Congratulations.
And he did it on the $1 Million Staircase because he knew it was my favorite place in the world.
Oh. Oh, and I didn't even know that. Can you imagine what a good journalist I am?
Yeah. Well, he read the website, I'm sure. That's what he did. He said, oh, that is her favorite. So.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. And in case, there are always the tours of the Capitol that people.
Yep. And they're also doing suffrage tours as well.
Wow. And now they're going to have to add the piece about you being proposed to there.
Yeah, there was a tour that came through, and I crashed the tour, and I yelled, "I just got proposed to!" We got a big round of applause. So,
well, congratulations, and thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
If anyone wants to find out any more, albany.org.
Albany.org.
Thank you. We'll have you again in again soon.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, this is another edition of Albany County News. I'm Mary Rozak. I hope to see you again soon.